Well, I'm here kind of making some stops around the state today. We've got about 5 or 6 stops scheduled, trying to get folks out, encouraging them to support Rand Paul. I do think Rand is a different kind of candidate. I think he's someone that's kind of challenged us to think beyond the initial thoughts and get into the second, third phases of things. I think he's been provocative enough that people are kind of thinking, where do we go from here? Kind of challenging us on the national security front to take a look at the mistakes that we made over the last 12, 15 years and not just be reactionary, but really think through and be smart about how we fight wars, how we get into wars. I am a Rand Paul supporter, and I jumped on Rand's bandwagon quite early, and I've been on the front line of politics for the last, well, probably since 1990, so the last 25 years, and I probably don't look like your typical Republican, but I have never been one that allowed society or others to tell me what I should be or how I should vote or how I should think. And I do think that Rand Paul is a different kind of Republican, and I think he's been good for the party in the sense that he's raised the conscience level about some things that you don't normally hear Republicans talk about. And his tax plan, he understands, friends, we don't need more taxes, we need more taxpayers. How do you create taxpayers? I don't care if you're in Iowa City, if you're in Eufaula, Oklahoma, if you're in Nashville, Tennessee, the way you create more taxpayers is you create an environment for people to invest their capital. That's not Republican, that's not Democrat, that's not liberal, that's not conservative, that's economics 101. Let me share a little bit of insight with you. Something, I know you guys know this, but other people don't know that. Republicans and Democrats don't invest their money any differently. Liberals and conservatives don't invest their money any differently. The number one criteria is, I'm going to invest my capital, Republican or Democrat, red, yellow, brown, black or white, man or woman, I'm going to invest my capital where I can get a return. Let me give you another principle going into business. Whenever you go into business, you don't want to go into business to create a job. You go into business to create a profit. If you create a profit, you'll create a job. But if I can't make money, if I'm spending out $10 a month and I'm only making $8 a month, those economics doesn't work. But if I'm spending out $10 a month and I can make $12 a month, there'll be jobs. But if you're not making a profit, we can't allow profit to be a bad word. It's not. That's what this business here, that's what they do. They're here to make a profit. We don't need more taxes, we need more taxpayers. You create taxpayers by saying, I'm gonna encourage her to risk her capital to start a restaurant that will employ 7 people. If you employ 7 people, that's 7 more people paying taxes. We have money for schools, have money for roads, have money for education, have money for wellness or whatever the case might be. But if you don't have taxpayers, budgets suffer. Profit is the key to philanthropy. It is the key to education. It is the key to research. It shouldn't be a bad word to us. Rand Paul understands that. I've got about 60 seconds and I want to remind you of something. There is a reason that we are the country that took us from stagecoaches to 747s, that took us from Pony Express to Federal Express, that took us from dictionaries to Googles. In 1995, when I went to Congress, BlackBerry was a fruit. And today it's this little handheld contraption that, you know, you can do marvelous things on. If you were to tell my grandmother that you could take a picture with the phone, that's the first real camera I've seen today. This is the fourth stop, and that's the first real camera I've seen. Everybody takes pictures with their phones today. Their cell phones. In 1990, when I went in the state government, we still had parts of Oklahoma. We were on party lines. Now again, you have to have gray hair or no hair to know what a party line is. College students look at me like I have a fish head when I talk about a party line. But a party line is where the three of us, all three of our families, we use the same phone line. And he would have to get on the phone and say, hey, JC, I want to talk to my girl. Get off the phone. You've been on the phone for 19 and a half minutes. He was timing it. Those are 40% of the American people today, they don't have landlines. I've got 5 kids, none of them have landlines in their homes. The cell phone is a primary source of communication. Friends, that's where we've come from. We are the nation. We created the telephone, the telegraph, the GPS, the internet. There's a reason that 82% of the medication, the research that benefits the world, 82% of it right here in the United States of America. Trust me, we don't want our kids someday and our grandkids to inherit a normal America. We want them to inherit an exceptional America. Rand Paul understands that. So with that, there's many things I could talk about, obviously, and many things I would like to talk to you about. So if we've got time for 2 questions, Steve, or do we? Two questions. I'll take 2 questions, and we are heading out to Davenport. So I understand you guys are getting quite a few presidential candidates here, 2 or 3 per day. You guys are going to be totally worn out on people like me come middle of January. Yes, sir.
Would you be interested in commenting on what Ted Cruz had to say on the Senate floor today?
I hadn't heard it. Tell me what he said.
He called Mitch McConnell a liar.
Oh, really?
On the Senate floor today. It's about time someone did.
Yeah. Well, I'm not. Me personally, I don't like the name calling. You can look at my political career over 20 years. I surely defended myself when I needed to defend myself, but that's not my cup of tea. But I'm sure Senator Cruz felt like he was justified in doing that for whatever reason it was that he did it. So, yes, sir.
I'll say one thing, and it's kind of along that line. I think what most people are sick and tired of the same old baloney. And whether it's Donald Trump or Ted Cruz or whoever, it's nice to hear somebody speak up and call it like it is. And there is a lot of BS.
Well, I think that's the reason, or one of the reasons that I've been supportive of Rand Paul. When you consider this fact, over the last 10 years, our children's innocence is more threatened than ever before. Over the last 10 years, we have deeper debt than we've ever had. We have deficits as far as the eye can see. And I don't think it's just the Democrats that we can point a finger at. Republicans have been in control over the last 10 years, 65-70% of that time. So, but the fact is, you can't change status quo with status quo. Now, again, my faith demands me to treat you with respect at all times, in spite of the fact that I might disagree with you. And I don't get into the name. Now, I've been called a lot of names, and I've peeled the pages of Scripture looking for a loophole that I could punch him in the nose, but couldn't find one. That's just not been my cup of tea personally. And so I can't speak for Ted Cruz or Nancy Pelosi or Rand Paul or anybody, Donald Trump when it comes to that. I can only speak for JC. And
I'm not talking about the name calling, I'm talking about the issues.
yeah. Well, and because, you know,
Issues that need to be brought up.
and the thing is, when we get into the name calling, whether we agree with it or not, when we get into the name calling, let me tell you what happens. That's what people focus on, and they lose sight of the issue that you're defending. And I'd be hard pressed to find anything that I would disagree with Ted Cruz on. But when the name call, that's the focus of especially by the press, left and right. That's what the press focuses on. And so I've always tried to be gentleman in my discussions and my debates, and I've just concluded at the end of the day, they can lie louder, but I can tell the truth longer. And the truth at the end of the day, it has to fight and crack, scratch and kick and claw to get out. The lie will go to the front of the pack overnight, and the truth has to fight to get through. But I'm committed to telling it in spite of who might agree or disagree with it. And I think that focus has served me a whole lot better. So with that, I think my time is up, so I'll shut up.
Thank you. Appreciate it.